Hi guys, it's Bob from Grey Bear Models, and this is the first stage of the build of this Uni Models fire engine. It is actually a Ford AA. A lot of information was given to me by guys out there, and one of the things that I should have done, I suppose, was read the information that was here, which goes into explaining that the first of these gas AA trucks left the factory floor in 1932 and was manufactured under license from Ford, although varied from Ford AA on which it was based. Goes into some detail there. It was carried on during World War II. This particular fire engine became almost standard issue for every airfield, and the vehicle was widely used during the 30s and 40s. Good bit of information there. The first stage of the build is basically trying to getting parts sorted out, and getting them in a situation where they're ready for paint. You can move the camera back up a bit so you've got all of this in view, but yeah, a lot of parts there, on sprues, where possible two parts been put together, like this is the pump. So I put the two halves of that together, and while I was doing that I thought there was an opportunity here just to show you a couple of little tips, so I'll come back to you in a second. Just if you wait there, we'll get onto the green mat and I'll show you what I'm on about. Right, so the first thing that I wanted to show you, this is the pump housing at the rear of the fire engine, and it's quite tiny. You know, I haven't got very big hands, but that's sort of give you some sort of idea of the size of it. Yeah, so it's, you know, 10 mil across, and it's about 18 mil long. The thing is, it's two halves you've got to join together, and in this kit there are no locating pegs, so you have to line everything up yourself. So one of the things that you need to do is, obviously you're going to end up with certain little seams and things, so to tidy those up at this small scale, one of the things that I use pretty much all the time is these little photo etch sanding stick holders things, or sanding holders. I use these ones. These are Infinity. They're really good. We get them over here in the UK from, well, I get them from Premium Hobbies here in the UK. I don't think Premium Hobbies ship to the States, but there must be similar providers out there. This particular set, you've got a 10 mil wide, a 5 mil wide, a 3 mil wide, 2 mil wide, and then you've got two triangular etch tools there that you can use to put sanding material on. I would say, you know, whatever your favourite sanding material is, wet and dry paper or whatever. But to go with those, I use this stuff. This again is available from Premium Hobbies, and you get a pack of 8 sheets of this what they call Premium Ultra Precision sanding sheets of sticker type. The beauty of these is there's a backing paper, but they're actually adhesive. So, you know, if you want to update the piece on here, they seem to last ages. But yeah, you know, it's just stuck on. Cut the piece out that you need for the width of the tool you're using. So for this, you'd use a 10 mil wide strip. Cut the strip, take the backing paper up, and just load it up onto there. It's really quite good. The sanding sheets, you've got a whole variety here: 400, 600, 800, 1000, 2000, 3000, and 5000 and 7000. So you've got a whole range of grit there available to pretty much cover most of the things. But when you're putting small parts like this, getting in with a needle file or a sanding stick, or some sort of sanding material, you need some sort of tool to hold the sanding material. One of the other things that I used on the back of this is this hose here. I use this little gizmo. This is actually a defunct paintbrush, and it's the handle. So I used some of this sticky back sanding material and just stuck it on the back of here. To be honest, you could use ordinary wet and dry, put it on with a bit of glue, bit of PVA maybe, something like that, and then hold it in place. But yeah, using a small sanding tool, profile tool of whatever description, these are good. Old paintbrushes, the adage of most modelers: never throw anything away, you'll never know when you'll need it. This particular brush is a really cheap naff brush. I think it might have been out of an old Airfix kit donkeys years ago, but yeah, use that as a profiling tool, and then I can get that into that area there and sand the inside of that curve so it does away with the seam. I doubt very much whether or not it'd actually be seen anyway, but it's worth tidying it up anyway, get into the habit of doing it. But I just thought I'd point those things out to you. Just started on this build, and I'll be back to you in a sec. One of the things that I wanted to show you on this kit, let's get a pointer because we'll need a pointer, is this quite early on in the build, and it was one thing that I discovered that I didn't know the kit did. So this is the construction here, section 4 of the front axle, and the front axle assembly is quite complicated in that the parts are on this sprue here, which is the A sprue, and they're the parts here and here. I've actually, to make sure that it came out safely, I cut the sprue to ease the pressure on the small parts before I cut them off of the sprue, and then cut them off of the sprue literally by taking a whole gate out, and then trimming the gate back. When you've got very small or fine parts like this, it's no good trying to cut the part, because you're going to cut right close to the part. The chances are you're going to break it. So what I tend to try and do is maybe cut the sprue here, and maybe cut the sprue here, and try and ease the pressure on this very thin piece of plastic. Any movement, you tend to, you can have problems. If not, if you've got a fine saw blade, maybe you can get in with a fine saw blade. But I tend to cut the sprue just to ease the pressure. Anyway, so I cut all the parts off to do this assembly. The only part that I haven't cut off so far is part number A36, which is this here, which is the tie rod between both wheels. Now that's very fine on there, so that's going to be, I think one of the things I might have to do is hold this all tight and cut this sprue here, and then take off that part. So what I'll do is I'll try and show you while I'm on camera, which is probably guaranteed to cause a problem. So what I'm going to do is take the pressure off the sprue there, so that's eased the pressure, so it's not pushing this way. And then if I take a cut in there, I'm hoping that leaves the pressure on the part there. And now I can take the part off there. Now if I cut that with these terminal cutters, the cutter angle of the cutter is like that, and if you cut too close you'll force the plastic using this wedge. So you know it's quite tricky just to get in there and cut it. So what I'll do is here I'll go very gently, and as I'm doing this I can see that cut, I can see that's causing a stress mark on the plastic there. So you have to be very careful when you're cutting these parts. Sometimes if you're going really close you might get away with it, other times you may not, but you've got to be aware that you are causing pressure. So by doing this cut close I'm actually pushing the sprue, so I've got the cutter near to the part, but I'm using the angle of the cutter and pushing away on the sprue so that the pressure is eased off of the part. Now because I've cut the sprue there, I've actually eased the pressure entirely on this joint here, so that should come away quite easily because there's no pressure on it, and a little snip and it should all drop away. But that's one of the things you have to be mindful of these kits where there's lots of tiny parts. It's just be very careful as you're cutting the parts off. So this is the tie rod between the front wheels. Now problem with this kit is it's a short run kit. So I had a look at the part. So the part goes between this part here and this part here. Now you may notice that actually there are no pins in the right place on this rod, and that's because this is a short run kit. So what we'll need to do, the pins are supposed to be there and there, and this is just left almost like a piece of flash there. So what we'll need to do is probably drill that out, and my favourite material, a piece of 0.3 brass rod or something of that nature, and create the pin. The pins will fit into those holes. Now bear in mind this is 1/48 scale, because of the very nature of the way that the parts are constructed. So you've got a collar, you've got an upper part and a lower part, same on both sides. Because of that you can actually, stop shaking Bob, you can ease it round very gently, because it's quite fragile parts anyway in this scale, but you can, and I will be posing the front wheels. If you can see it on there or on there, but as you can see you can actually pose the front wheels. So when they're done, that'll look quite neat, I think. But quite a tricky little kit. It's going to be fun though. Really enjoying this at the moment. So onwards to the next bit. Right guys, so yeah, moving swiftly on from the axles. They're all ready for paint really. So we've now got through the build of the front axle. I've done that. That's all done with. Put a little bit of camber on the wheels, not a lot. Got to remember this is sort of a 1930s car. You know, it's not going to be hacking it round the bends like a rally car, but it's so that's ready for paint. That's ready to go in. The other thing that I've been working on is the chassis. Now the chassis is quite tricky. There's a couple of things on the chassis that pose a problem. On the diagram, get my pointed stick on the diagram here. There's a fitment there for this part, which is that part there, but there aren't any sort of, it's got indicators there but there's nothing there, so that's in place and lined up. These two pieces here, they're in position on there, but there's no sort of indicator or indication as to where they go particularly. So I think that the key point is these. Everything seems to be in place. I've got a little bit of dressing there, which I've only just noticed on there, so we'll clean that up, and clean up a little bit there. The other thing is that the rear suspension points. Now, according to the kit diagram, there should be a cutout there and there, whereas in fact there isn't anything there. There isn't a cutout. There's a mark there, so it looks like it. I don't know whether or not they just didn't put it in the moulding, or whether it's a short shot or what it is, I don't know. And there's a bit of a mark there, but there's nothing, no moulding at all. So with the rear suspension in place, the rear suspension has actually got a plug there which would have gone into those cutouts, but obviously that can't go, so I'm going to have to cut that off, file that back, and then put that into position there, and its opposite number, which is this one, it's exactly the same, onto that side of the chassis. The other thing to note is that I've counted the number of cross members. So you got the rear cross member here, which is one you put in, this cross member here, this cross member there, that cross member there with the arch in it, that cross member, and the front cross member for supporting the front suspension and the front axle. So looking at the part, there's the rear part there with these two parts in place. There's the cross member, which is there, the additional cross member, that one which is there, the cross member with the arch is there, that cross member is there, and there's an additional cross member which I think is possibly in there just to support it while it was being moulded, and then the cross member for the front axle, which is there. You've got the 4 mounting positions there for the engine, so there's an additional part there, so that has to come out, and then we fold up the photo etch battery box and put that in position in here. But again, there's no real indicator as to exactly where that goes. So test fit, fold, fit, etc, etc. So I'm going to get on with that, and I think this is a good point to end this particular segment, and I'll come back to you probably in a few days when I've got a bit more done, some painting done and stuff like that. So I noticed my subs have gone up, so thanks for that, you guys and you guys. Hope you're enjoying this, and we'll see you soon. Cheers, bye for now.